Frontier have just dropped the official announcement trailer for Planet Zoo 2, and boy does it not disappoint. Today we're going to break down all the tiny little details you might have missed and talk about some of the bigger features you definitely will have seen and what we can likely expect from them in the game. And you're definitely going to want to stay tuned to the end of the video as there's a potential whopper in there you won't want to miss. But before we dive in, if you enjoy this video, please do drop a like and add your favourite animal emoji into the comments to help others find it. And if you're as hyped for Planet Zoo 2 as I am, hey, you might also consider hyping the video. Alright, let's go. Now, I do quickly need to say that Frontier did give me early access to the trailer, so I have watched this already about 30 or 40 times, I can't even count. So it's not a first reaction trailer, but I will say my first reaction was incredibly positive and it's only gone up from there, having analysed it over and over again. Now, I'm also not going to be going through the trailer, so if you want to watch it, there's a link in the description of this video if you haven't already seen it. I'm not going to be watching it as a whole. We're going to be stopping and starting and analysing different shots in the actual trailer. And to start off with, we can see here it says it contains in-engine footage and beta in-game footage. So a reminder that everything we see here is beta, so it may or may not change by the time the game is released. But I love the fact that it is all in-engine or in-game at least, so we're not getting any crazy CGI, weird AI effects in there. Like, for example, the original Planet Zoo announcement trailer actually was lots of CGI in there, and I could also mention City Skylines too, but we won't go there. So in this opening shot, we can see that the vibe is still very much the same. We have got things like the old familiar wooden barrier with glass in it, nice and curved up there. We've also got a research centre, which I'm going to come back to in just a second, and we've got some really lush tropical foliage. And also, it is nice to see that the Booga Luga Lulu font, whatever the name is, still appears to be present in game. I love that. So throughout the trailer, they're just showing us this tropical themed zoo. So I'm going to guess there'll be other biomes at launch. If there's not, there'll be trouble. But so this is potentially looking at one kind of theming element that they have. How many there'll be? Absolutely no idea. So we'll have to wait and see for that. I really do love these archway pieces here as well. Really, really nicely done with the sort of rattan effect on the sides of it. Also loving the fact that we can see these canvases and these awnings here too. One thing I did notice straight away is there's quite a lot of repeated things. So like this shader here, we're going to see that quite a few times. In fact, we can see a few more of them up there. The canvases, obviously here, they're all the same colour. So whether we can recolour things or not, that's yet to be seen. But there's some awesome props here too, like these wicker baskets, for example. There's a tiger statue in the background. We'll come on to that. And some lovely foliage. Love this sort of ivy bushes hanging down here. Some very nice looking palm trees, and I will say throughout the trailer the graphics look absolutely fantastic. Now I'm going to immediately pause it here because this research facility, if we just kind of zoom in and take a closer look, we've obviously got the sign there, there's a doorway. Now I don't know whether they've built this out over the actual research centre or not, but you can seem to see inside the actual building here, which makes me think, have they changed the way star facilities work? And then of course there's the other thing of this is quite close to the guest path. So are they not going to complain about star facilities anymore? I have hope. That's what it looks like here. Of course time will tell on that. But yeah, you can see if I try and gradually slowly move it on this section, it does look not like one building, unless it's hidden somewhere behind that, I don't know. But that looks like a desk chair. It looks like it is part of a research facility, so I'm wondering if they have changed that. We can also see more staff buildings up the top here as well, but it's a little bit difficult to kind of ascertain. That looks like it's probably a quarantine, but we do see more later in the trailer, so I will come back to that topic. You can also see here, we've got the first semblances of a big new feature, which we'll come on to in a second, and a stone fish statue. Loving the looks of that. But the other big thing with this shot as well, if I look at the paths, it kind of looks like Planet Zoo of old, I'm not going to lie, with these connections. They're not hugely smooth. I appreciate I don't really know what they're going over. And this one's very much round the centre of the platform. Now, it does become apparent later that it does definitely look like they have improved the pathing mechanics. I mean, if they haven't improved it to at least what we have in Planet Coaster 2, I would be really, really shocked. But you can also see here as well, the lighting is just absolutely stunning. Like, obviously the artwork and things is kind of the same as Planet Zoo. Like, they've kept the guests and things looking very much the same cartoony kind of vibe, which I absolutely love, preserving that. Very much that sort of trademark of the Planet series. But the foliage and the rocks, they just really look a lot more refined. It's like Planet Zoo grown up, if anything. That's kind of the way I'd describe it. Really loving the look of this. I'm very curious to see how much selection we have in terms of foliage when it actually comes to game release here too, because it does look like there's an awful lot of sort of repeated assets. Like we've got the old bamboo there. We've got, forgive me, I don't know the names of types of trees, but this tree seems to be quite heavily repeated all over. Same with the palms as well. Now, obviously, appreciate we're only in the tropical theme here, and it does look like there's a bit more diversity when we come to some of the smaller foliage, and there's some small rocks here too, but that's the other thing, the rocks. They look incredible. So actually, if we go back just a little bit, we can see a bit more of that rock face up here. We've got these lovely, huge rocks, and this really doesn't do it justice because I'm going through on a slow speed and looking a little bit dodgy. So go and watch the trailer for yourself and you can kind of see that effect. But yeah, the foliage and the rocks look massively improved. The lighting looks improved as well. The shadows, I think. It just definitely looks enhanced. So if we go into the next scene, we have a baby tiger cub. I think it's a Sumatran tiger. And just look at this tiger here. If I can get it on a clean, nice shot. The fur on it looks incredible. It's really visually stunning. And also this animation is particularly cute here too. Now I am running through on a slower speed just so we can see a bit more with the baby tigers running through and chasing in the background and their parent sitting here licking their face. Absolutely gorgeous. Love this. Now the other thing I did notice though in this shot, well in this shot here, is we've got mushrooms on the tree and on the ground, which is new. I don't think we ever had that in Planet Zoo 1. Correct me if I'm wrong. But also the ground texture looks quite a bit more varied. This long grass looks a lot better, depending on, of course, whether they've actually plopped in additional grass or not. We've also got small rocks. Definite small rocks coming in there. And you can see here too, the old familiar donation bin, very much still intact in game. So each to their own. You can see the mushrooms here again on the tree and actually on the ground here too. A different type of mushroom growing there. So I wonder if they're placeable or something maybe more dynamic in the environment. I'm not so sure. I would love it if we had that sort of slightly more dynamic environment where mushrooms grow in shady places. Like, granted, this is in the sun on the tree, but these other ones on the ground here are most definitely in the shade in this space. And also, of course, in this shot here too. And we also get a little sneaky glimpse at what looks like some kind of hanging vine here too. Love the look of that. But yeah, look at the ground texture here. Fallen leaves. Really feels quite natural. But mainly in this little section of the video, just absolutely blown away with how good the fur on the tiger looks. It's incredible. And the detail on the tongue and the paws here too. Absolutely awesome. And so I mentioned this already, but the guests and the Sims very much are still the same kind of characters with such personality. I love it. And we can see behind this lady here, they've still got that educational sort of game thing, that station that kids can do. Looks very much like the one from the first game. So I love that they've kind of kept some of those features intact. But I am also noticing that all the paths we've seen so far have fencing around it. If we actually just skip back to the tigers, I'm curious because we can see, yeah, some people in the background. Now they don't have fences in front. I'm wondering if that's because there is a big glass wall here potentially. It looks like it's a slightly different shading to here where it appears more open with this fence here next to the pool. But I'm very much hoping that they haven't reverted to sort of original Planet Zoo days and not given us the opportunity to remove fences from paths. I'm absolutely sure that won't be the case, but the skeptic in me, looking at all of these pathing fences, does wonder a little bit. And again, we can just see here as well, the quality of the shadows, I think is really great. Really great. It all just looks very much enhanced visually. And now here is where the real magic money maker is. Let's get rid of that. Aquariums! We're getting, well, what apparently looks like aquariums, at least. And there is so much in this. This is incredible. We've got a giant sunfish here. We've got turtles in the background here as well. But we've also got lots and lots of shoals of fish here too. And this is the part where I'm wondering that if they're bringing in aquariums into the game, I'm assuming something like the turtle and the sunfish would be treated as per any other animal in the game in terms of you have to have the right habitat and keep them clean and fed and all the rest of it. Do all of these tiny fish also come under that? Or are they existing more like an exhibit species? Or maybe even are they just purely decorative? So when you build an aquarium, you'll get different species. You'll be able to select maybe different species of soulfish. Because we can see in this section as well, they all sort of fly around in groups together of the same type of fish. Like, just look at that. That's incredible. Oh my goodness. It's amazing. It's so good. All right, we'll come back to you, Mr. Diver, Mr. Keeper. Oh, look at that turtle. And also up to the sky here as well. Just visually, this is absolutely fantastic. So you can see they swim around in packs here, but they are kind of bobbing up and down. It's not like it's a fixed thing. I think they've done the animations on that seemingly really well. And that just helps to bring the aquarium alive. I was very fearful that if they were going to add aquarium type species, that it was just going to end up being like, you know, a crocodile, one animal in a tank. But having these extra fish here, oh gosh, just look at that. That's so good. That's so good. I'm also absolutely adoring all of this rock work here, like the arches, this tower pillar here, and all the coral. So many underwater plants and corals that we can see here. It looks like a really huge variety. I also love how we can see through the glass, because clearly there must be a massive glass window here for the girl to be standing in this place. And we've got a bit of sun shining on it. Now, if you played the original Planet Zoo game, you would know if the sun shines on an open glass top looking underwater, it's really hard, almost impossible to actually see through it. Whereas here we can. And it also looks quite dark on the outsides here as well with the shading. So whether she stood in some kind of cave with a light tunnel pouring through, I don't know. But the lighting here underwater is exceptional. Absolutely amazing. Also love this boat prop. There's so many things to shout about here. But yes, aquariums, and it would appear with sunfish and turtles and shoalfish, however they're going to work. I don't know. I just can't believe with this number of fish that you'd have to kind of individually select them. So yeah, very curious to see if they are just decorative, or if they're operating in a different way to other aquarium animals. Time will tell. And then of course we have the keeper in here as well. So the keepers, I'm guessing it's a keeper. I don't actually know. Maybe it's a vet, or I don't know. And they also appear to be waving to that girl. So are there new animations, new interactions in play here? I don't know. But obviously the keepers are going to be able to dive to reach the animals. And wow, just look at that. It's so good. You can also see tiny little rocks and details here on the underground. I'm guessing that's probably terrain painting maybe here. That looks so good next to sort of smooth sand. I'm just picking up on so many things as we go. But yeah, diving keepers. I'm loving that idea. So they're not just going to kind of treat it from the surface. They're actually going to interact with the aquariums themselves and seemingly with the guests through the glass too. So yeah, wow. Wow, just look at that. Wow, I'm so excited. I'm so glad this is coming. That sunfish is amazing. Right, we're going to come back to this section in a minute because there is something else that we can spy back here. Behind this girl, this is what appears to be a gift shop, very much in the same style that we had in Planet Zoo 1. So I do kind of like the fact that they've kept a lot of those old original features, and it just seems like they've enhanced it with obviously new mechanics like aquariums. Oh my god. And maybe changing the star facilities, or how guests at least react to the star facilities with the proximity that we saw those next to the path. So yeah, very much a gift shop we can see here. And how the light comes through the water as well. I was going to say that is the other thing that really sort of mesmerizes me about this. Like you can see the light touching the back of the turtle there, and how it sort of shimmers on the top and through this viewing platform over here as well. Incredible. These corals sticking out of the rocks here too. Absolutely love it. And then you can see as we come up here with the water on the camera, I hope they do that effect in game. There's some more reveals, and these are big reveals. So we've got netting, 3 different netting habitats over here. We're going to come back to them. But the other big thing is this area here. So we've got a vet clinic, we can clearly see. We've also got another research centre, got the trade centre and other things, but we have guests literally walking through this staff area. So I would say my theory that they're doing away with the guests can't see into staff areas mechanic is probably coming true. And also if we zoom in on this vet surgery area, you can definitely quite clearly see into that building. Same with some of these other buildings at the back. So I think they've really overhauled the staff area mechanic by the look of this, definitely with the proximity of guests here, but maybe in terms of how they actually work. I mean, do we draw out spaces, design the interiors ourselves? That would be kind of cool. Or is it a case that, essentially those walls are broken down? I guess time will tell, but this looks awesome for a staff area to me. But also going back to my point about kind of repeated assets, these shaders that we can see used into this statue down here, again used up here, here. We've also got these leaf props here too. They're formed into this archway, which is very much used in multiple places. Oh, these as well. I love this. This, I don't know if it's aquarium or not, but that is definitely a water-based animal with shades over the top. Look at those canvases. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to get hold of them. And the other thing we can see here is some of the guest services. We've got Chief Leaf, that looks like, which I really like. We had Chief Beef and Hot Dog Squad and all the rest of it, but now we've got Chief Leaf catering to the vegetarians and the vegans out there, which I love. I love that they've sort of kept that overall theming and branding there, but changed it up. We do have Gulpy, we can see there as well. Gelato Bros, is that? And we've also got Cosmic Cow over this side as well. So some of those original brands definitely still staying in here. And you can also see here, we've still got that old Keeper Gate mechanic by the looks of this. Although we can't obviously see any path round here. So interesting to see how that's hooked up, or maybe there's a bit more freedom in terms of how keepers navigate. I don't know. I'm speculating. We do have that old familiar barrier very much in this case. But the water looks absolutely incredible all around this park. It does come back to my slightly concerning point about the barriers on paths. But the other thing we can see here as well is this area in particular, that looks like a much more free-form placed path. And it definitely looks like some of these shops are just literally placed on the path rather than having to kind of, be snapped to it really awkwardly, which would suggest very much the Planet Coaster 2 mechanics are being introduced to this. I think we can see a bit more of that evidence later on too. But also, let's just admire the backdrop here before we come on to talk about what these things are over here. That backdrop is incredible. This water on the beach looks awesome. It looks like we're building almost right up to the actual coastline here. So I wonder if we will be able to actually get to the coastline on the maps. That would be particularly cool, I think. But just overall, the look of this, the colours, the lighting, look incredible. Absolutely incredible. All right, so let's talk about what looks like aviaries. And they are aviaries. If you've already seen the trailer, you'll know. We've got aquariums and we've got birds. Yes. Probably the two most requested items from Planet Zoo are actually officially coming to Planet Zoo 2. That's just awesome. Awesome. And I think they probably couldn't have done it any other way, to be honest. There would always be one side that was going to complain. But there's a few things I want to just point out about these, because these three all look like very different shapes. Because I was thinking, if we're going to have aviaries, how would you actually functionally do it? Would they just give us roofs that we place in, or would have to make certain shapes to make the netting work? But this looks a little bit more procedurally generated, I'll be honest. I don't know, maybe these are just the three styles that we might have in the game. Maybe there's more than three, I don't know. But we've got one with a very kind of flat roof that looks like it's got poles around the edge. We've got one that's very undulating here. It looks like it really changes in height. And we've got another one that's much, much smaller. Looks more like a central pole with outer poles here. So we're going to take a closer look at those in a second, but my God, so exciting. Also, tiny rocks. Yay, tiny rocks. And here you go, you can very much see Chief Leaf. We've also got Trunk of Trinkets. Is that actually going to be the gift shop name? I don't know, but I love these little giraffe masks here. And again, we can see a semblance of the gift shop that looks very much like it was in Planet Zoo 1. I'm guessing that this is the mascot for Chief Leaf. I love that. We can also start to take a closer look at some of the building pieces here. So these actually look like thatch roofs. I thought from further away they might have looked like a bit concretey, but they actually look thatched up close, which I guess kind of fits in with that tropical theme. We've got another staff area up there, but there are some slightly dodgy things here. Like, I can't really see it properly, but here it very much looks like the edge of the path is here, and obviously they've snapped the Chief Leaf within that. Great news. But you can kind of see that it looks sort of like this fence continues through there. So again, it comes back to my slight nervousness that we're only going to have paths with fencing around it. I don't know. I've not really seen any sections in the entire trailer, and I've watched it a lot, that have path without those, except for when it's at a barrier. So even when we come back to here, you can see the barrier down here. There's literally fencing all the way around. Same with this section here. You can see the fencing around the path. There's a lot of raised sections in this zoo, to be fair, so maybe that is just how it is and how they've actually designed it, but I am getting a little bit nervous, particularly at this point where we can sort of take that closer look here. But we do have different fences too, so it's not like all one fence, even though we've got the same path colouring here. And the fences join on pretty nicely together, I would say, at this point too. And we do also see here we have got a conservation screen too. We can also see some of the enrichment items. So this is an elephant actually in this. I'm hoping it's a much bigger enclosure around the corner off screen. So you can see the elephant in there. So elephants definitely coming back to the game. And is that another animal there? It's very difficult to tell, but we do also have enrichments. So the enrichment items will obviously still be there. I mean, that's a core feature, I'd say, within the game. So not surprising that it would be any other way. We've also got what looks like dynamic sort of mossy rocks here with that green top. So a slight difference to these much more sort of stark grey rocks that we can see in other places. And we can see the rocks sunk into the terrain here. Obviously kept that same mechanic of terrain theming for rocks actually blending into the actual prop rocks that you place for that particular biome. Again, hoping and praying that there are other biomes other than tropical out there. And now here we can see the elephant and a wildebeest as well. So wildebeest also confirmed as in the game. We've also got those small rocks again. So glad that they will be in the game finally and not just locked behind the aquatic pack. You can also see we've got the mushrooms here again. I'm really wondering if there is some kind of dynamic environment changing. It seems a kind of odd place to place mushrooms in the elephant habitat, unless they just have for extra effect, I suppose. But again, let's just admire this amazing elephant and also this huge this huge aviary in the background. I should be admiring the elephant, but I'm just looking in the background at this massive structure we never had in the game before. But no, in all seriousness, the elephant looks incredible. Again, the textures look just super real. This video doesn't do it justice because I am going in slower mode in 4K, so it all tends to look a little bit blurry. But you can see here as well, we've got the hanging vines, we've got dry grass. There does seem to be a lot of foliage actually. As I go on, I'm seeing more and more different types. We're also loving the fact that we've got the path here and also the fencing here too. So this potentially could be custom, the way it's sort of formed and not just, you know, sloping down, I guess, the path here. Although we can't really see, I suppose, if the path is flat or not from that point. Definitely looks like it's curving up based on the height here. And we've got zebras here as well. Okay, so onto the Western chimpanzee. And for me, I think this is possibly the best looking upgraded animal in the game. Compared to the ones that were in Planet Zoo, this is incredible. Like, look at the face and the fur and the detail on the hands is just amazing. And also the face expressions here as well, super cool. How it's climbing also looks improved. Difficult to tell from one single shot, but that looks very, very smooth and very, very nice indeed. How it's actually clinging on. And it looks like we've got notches on these poles too, which is kind of neat, actually. I hadn't spotted that on my 30 other watch throughs. So whether they've been manually added or not, I don't know, but I do like the look of that. I also love the look of these big wooden beams that we have in here too. And the face expressions of the people. They're awesome, amazing, incredible. And here we have, I'm guessing, a saltwater crocodile. Not too sure. But again, you can see the lighting under the water is amazing through this section. It's kind of brief, but let's just have a look. Oh, it splashes underneath too. Absolutely amazing. And seeing through the window here too, all looks incredible. We've got some nice underwater foliage. It looks like lilies in the background hanging down here too. Great to see. Absolutely brilliant to see. And we've got a crocodile on the surface there. And I think just come back to this because this is a proper close-up of the water surface. Obviously we've got the drips on the camera from the camera effect coming out of the water, but it looks amazing. Absolutely incredible. So, so good. And that crocodile, also incredible. It almost looks a sort of photo real, actually, in that particular freeze frame. All right, so let's come on to aviaries. And we got Das nur Hefo le Mupa. Don't feed the birds? Perhaps, maybe. And we can start to see the frames of the actual aviaries here. So we have got this central pole and then the netting coming down, and we can see something flying in the background. I think this big sign probably gives it away, but yes, toucans. Toucans are in the game. I'll be very curious to see how many bird species we actually get at launch. I think they're probably going to go quite heavy into that. So whether that means we actually get less of the traditional old animals from Planet Zoo at launch or not, I don't know. I'm very curious to see. I really like the looks of the animals that we have seen within this trailer and that we obviously now know are coming. But yeah, very curious to see the balance between the aquarium animals, the birds, and of course the regular zoo animals too. Now this is obviously a walkthrough habitat, so they can walk into the aviary, which is fantastic. Love this. And also actually, I mean, I can't see a fencing here, but maybe it's at the bottom of the aviary. I'm not sure if this is kind of attached to the netting. It's a little bit unclear to see at this point. And actually, to be fair, yeah, we don't have a fence here. All right, I'll take back my concerns. But we do have two lovely, hopping, amazing toucans. Absolutely incredible. Little scratching animations, perched on a branch here too, I would just add, and then flying off. So from the looks of these very short frames that we can see here, I think they've done a pretty good job on the animations. They can obviously walk along the ground, fly, and perch in branches. So that's pretty cool. Very interesting to see how they track and navigate around these aviaries too. But this one particularly looks huge. Like, there's obviously quite a few poles, so I'm very curious to see if they're ploppable entities that we can then build in and put animals into, or how customizable the aviaries are actually going to be. That's going to be a big thing that I'm looking out for when the game comes to launch, or if they release any future gameplay footage of actually how we construct and build habitats. But yeah, this just looks amazing. This just looks amazing. I absolutely love the toucans. I'm so excited for this. So does our visiting girl. And we also have the secretary bird here too. Again, in another massive aviary. And this is kind of interesting. So we have got a glass panel here, so it doesn't look like guests can walk through. But it definitely looks like they're under the actual aviary netting there. That does lead me to wonder whether these are ploppable netting roofs, or just how they're actually going to function in game. That's a huge question, I think. And so she is viewing the secretary bird through the glass. I love this animation too. That's so cool. Playing with it. Yes, I love this. We obviously got, well, it could be a vet. So I was going to say maybe an educator, but actually looking at it now, probably a vet with the gloves. I love the little flying animation for the guest there. That's so cool. And the flying animation of that secretary bird taking off is awesome as well. Really nicely done. Yeah, this looks like it's all just different heights. I'm not so keen on these huge massive glass barriers though, but yeah, really interested to see how this actually functions in game. Now this kind of closing shot I think is something really interesting here. We've got the secretary bird, but it's not in an aviary. So does that mean they are going to be able to fly wild and free over zoos as well, and not have to be confined to aviaries? I'm not sure if I'd necessarily want to have secretary birds flying over my head, but this looks very much more like a kind of nature reserve type area than a zoo build. Like, we've obviously got giraffes and other animals, elephants that we can see down here that they're flying over, and we can see that again in a second. We'll talk about the logo in a minute. On this shot here, where we can see the secretary birds flying over all these other animals in what appears to be a much more natural environment. And this had me thinking maybe there's like other gameplay modes that they're introducing. And then actually, I did go back to the original Planet Zoo trailer, and at the start of it, they show very similar clips of animals in natural environments. So I think it's likely just showing off what can be done in sandbox. But I do think it's really interesting that the birds are able to fly around, not in the aviary. I guess it's like invisible barriers, essentially. Some kind of function like that in sandbox, which restricts them from flying too high or just simply flying out of your map. We can also see some other kind of environments and landscapes here as well. And the backdrop looks particularly lovely, I think, in this scene here. I mean, just look how gorgeous that looks. Amazing. And I also love what they've done with the logo animation here. Like, we've got a bird flying in, converting to a turtle, and then into the traditional Planet Zoo lion's tail type logo. Love that addition, and love the fact that they kept the logo the same. I don't think it needs to change. So yes, it is coming 13th of October 2026. and you can pre-order now, and there's a whole bunch of stuff for the deluxe edition in there, which appears to be quite focused on aquarium animals. The one thing I'm very excited for is the hammerhead shark. Oh my goodness, yes. So cool. Blue and gold fusilier, longfin batfish, the axolotl. So I'm it's a little bit disappointing that the axolotl is locked behind a deluxe edition. I think that would be a really favourite animal, but I kind of guess why they've done that. They want to sell more copies, so yeah, I get that. Golden lion tamarin as well, super excited to see that, and the golden eagle. Be amazing. There are some pre-order items as well, so don't forget that if you don't pre-order, you're likely to miss out on those forever. So there is also a toucan eat shop. Love that. A brand new shop there. I'm guessing a food shop because it says eat on it. And we've also got these photo walls as well, which I think is pretty cool. I'm excited to see how these work in game. But also look at the key art here too for the front page of the tigers. Like, that fur is just amazing, absolutely amazing. We can also see kind of waves on the beach. You don't know how much this has been enhanced by CGI though, so time will tell. But I do like the fact we can see the aquarium there. We can see the birds. And we can see, of course, the old traditional zoo animals. So Frontier did also release some screenshots with the trailer, and we have this beautiful shot of the aquarium with the hawksbill turtle. That's the official name. Absolutely stunning. Again, that light shining onto its back is just amazing. I'm so excited to play with these. Now, we also do have this one with the saltwater crocodile. Again, you can just see the detail on the animal, but we also get a hint at the UI here, which very much looks the same. So we've got animal appeal still, that makes sense, the age of the animal. We've got various different things up here. So there's this flower one, and then there's also a plant one, which I'm kind of curious to know what the difference is between them. But to all intents and purposes, this kind of looks similar. So I'm guessing that's health. That'll be terrain requirements. I would have thought that'd be plant requirements. Again, I'm not entirely sure what that one is. Enrichment, family tree, genealogy. So very much similar to what we had. We can also box the animal, I'm guessing, move it, open the Zoopedia, follow it around with the camera. And then down here you can see this looks great. So the interesting thing here is there is not a separate tab for aviaries. So we do have aquariums in here, and then we have habitats and exhibits. We haven't seen any exhibits in this trailer, actually. I haven't noticed any, at least. If you have, let me know in the comments. But it'd be interesting to see if that has changed at all or developed, or if that's very much the same kind of old mechanic. I'd love to be able to change the size of exhibit boxes and have them be a little bit more flexible in terms of how we design them. I think that would be a really neat feature. But aquariums is interesting because you would have thought something like the hawksbill turtle could be treated in the same way as a saltwater crocodile, but they just, can't have any land in their habitat, I guess. It's all underwater. I'm guessing it's a separate one, probably because of how the shoalfish are going to work, or those decorations, etc., or the keepers maybe as well. It's a different interaction. But the aviaries are not separated on the tab here, so I'm guessing they probably form under habitats. In fact, actually, look, there is a feather. So that would be a hint. We've got animals and birds coming under habitats, which makes me even more curious to see how we go about putting in those aviary roofs. Whether it's going to come under barriers. There's going to be a separate kind of sub-menu, I guess, in here for aviaries. Oh, I'm so curious to see it. We've got trading, research, zoo management, also a separate tab, it looks like, for staff management here, which is kind of handy. And then we actually have our paths. That looks like barriers function, maybe, because there used to be a separate one here for barriers. So maybe that is that. Landscaping, selection tool, bulldozer, the usual there. I'm wondering where the heat maps are kept. Because I hate if they do over with those. I find them they're kind of ugly, but they're very useful at the same time. And there's no obvious place for where you could toggle them on or off. There is a world button though, which I kind of find interesting. Could you just skip between zoos seamlessly? Or do you have different areas in your zoo you have to skip between? I hope it's not that. I don't want a loading screen in between going to different areas of my zoo. It definitely doesn't appear like that from the trailer, at least, but that is really interesting. Really, really interesting. And it does make me wonder about that sort of shot of that reserve area at the end, whether it is going to be some kind of potential conservation link, or maybe you have to go out to the wild to rescue animals. That would be kind of cool. But that is very interesting that you can kind of toggle to that direct from in the game. And we have our usual settings over here. And yeah, not much else to talk about. I do love the colour change though. The darker green looks a lot more sophisticated, a bit more modern, but they've kept very much that same similar kind of UI that you'd be familiar with if you played Planet Coaster or Planet Zoo indeed as well. Now if we go on to the next one, we've got the amazing tigers. And also here, huge reveal. The tiger appears to be scratching a tree. Now, whether they've actually hidden an enrichment within the tree or not, or if actually tigers are going to be able to interact with objects and use them for enrichment purposes, I don't know, but that is brand new. Tigers definitely never used to go up to trees, at least, and scratch them. So maybe it is a case of hidden something in the tree, but they've hidden it really carefully because it looks like the paw is perfectly on the tree at that point. These baby Sumatran tiger cubs are just absolutely gorgeous as well. Look at them, their giant paws, little faces. That fur, again, yes, amazing, amazing. And we have the toucans here in the aviary, again, one flying, one perched on a branch. They just look incredible, really well done as well. Very curious to see what their sort of interactions are like with branches and how they navigate around these aviaries. That's going to be, I guess, quite a tricky thing to potentially manage. So very curious to see what that's like. But loving the look of these poles and the aviary netting over the top here. It all looks fantastic. The lighting as well. Just, yeah, another reminder of how much better it is. Watering hole elephants, again, in the wild, is what it looks like. But I'm guessing it's a sandbox type zoo. And I'm massively overthinking it. But the other thing to see here is look at those ripples in the water. Incredible. Absolutely gorgeous. And then we have the western chimpanzee here laying on the branch having a nap. That is amazing. I absolutely love what they've done. Their faces are so good. This model is just hugely, hugely improved from the original Planet Zoo. I'm so happy to see that. And I love how he's interacting with the branch here. That's super cool. We can also see lighting here too, which looks really good. I'm guessing this is kind of an evening shot. And we also have another little look at the UI here, although it's kind of simplified version, I guess. So we've got year 2, we've got a year marker. Why 2? I'm guessing that's year 2. That's very interesting as well. So is there maybe there's some additional kind of progression in game that's required? Let me know what you think. We can see the western chimpanzees here again. That looks like an anthill, a new enrichment item potentially for them to interact with there. And kind of familiar climbing frames, I guess you could say, from the original game here too. Also have a scent marker. So it looks like a lot of the enrichment items are kind of going to be similar, I would say, to what we're used to in Planet Zoo 1. These rocks, though, that looks amazing. Look at this terrain. That looks so good. Whether that was painted on or just something that forms naturally, I don't know. The piles of leaves as well. I'm just loving this. Also, the look of the clarity of the water back here, the light shining on it. Just amazing. So much depth. And then we have this wider shot of the zoo where we can see it is Gelato Brothers, Moon Jelly. So we've definitely got some new shop brands in there. Chief Leaf, as we've already talked about. Gulpy, got to be in there. And Cosmic Cow we'd already seen. You can also see here, I think this is the tigers at this point. Yes, and we've got the tiger cubs. You can see those same familiar enrichment items that we're used to from the first game also being present in here. So maybe some new ones coming in. And some old ones. I also, actually, hang on. Hang on a second. We have a side of the path which is on the barrier here, and a side which appears to be raised with the fence. Love that. Take back everything I was worried about with the pathing earlier on. We can also see we have very clearly got a keeper gate here, so I'm guessing that whole mechanic of how the keepers enter habitats will remain the same there. We can also see down here waves on the beach, or what looks like it at least, or there's something in there. But that water looks amazing. It also looks quite different to the water we see within the zoo, much more ripply. So it seems to be a difference between the sort of coastal water and the internal water. You can see right down into this aviary here actually with all of the different poles. So that is quite a complex structure, and it does look like it is just a join to the top of a fence here. So that would be really hard to get in. I'm thinking it must be either procedurally generated or there are set layouts of aviary that you can plop in. I really hope it's the first one there. I really hope it's sort of procedurally almost generated. or you can kind of change the heights of things, or potentially when you draw in a barrier, this kind of forms in around it, maybe, because that does look like pretty neat joins for quite a complex structure. So yeah, there is a chance it could be plopped in. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, they're all very different shapes. I'm really hoping we get a lot of flexibility for how we put those Averys in and design them with the poles and the netting and the shape of it. But that was it. So that draws us to a close of this breakdown of the brand new Planet Zoo official announcement trailer. If you are as excited as I am, please let me know about it in the comments below. What is the feature that you're most excited about? Have you spotted something else in the trailer that we haven't mentioned here? Let everyone know by commenting below. But that'll be all from me for now, so thank you so much for tuning in. Massive shout out to the Patreons, in particular Thomas Campos, the Universe Mayor, insane support there. And I will catch you on the next one. Bye bye.